right, so I'm going to kind of take you guys through the mechanics of using your calculator. I know we did a lot of practice in class, but in case you need some visual assistance between now and your test, I'm going to throw together this quick little video to kind of take you through an example problem. All right, I'm on a website right now called calc84.com. Obviously, on your test, you're going to need your own graphing calculator. But this is just a website. I showed you guys in class. It's supposed to just simulate the screen of your TI-84 graphing calculator. If you have any other type of graphing calculator, I will not be able to help you. All right, I'm sorry about that. Uh, but I'm sure you can check on YouTube for some videos for, like, let's say you have the Casio calculator, you can do that. But I'm just going to show you what you'll need for our test, right? So your screen should look like this. Um, or actually, probably yours isn't cleared like this, but let me just show you, right? So let's say you turn it on, it looks like this. What you will typically have you do in the beginning is to clear the memory because sometimes you guys mess with it, sometimes you change the settings. And when you guys go to graph or try to find some information, you get some errors, right? To alleviate that, we'll have you do this at the very beginning before your test. You're going to click second, then plus, and you should see this menu, and you're going to hit in this order 7, 1, 2. And then you should see this, right? Your memory is cleared. All right. And now your calculator is ready to go. All right. I'm going to click clear. To actually graph something, right? We first need to type out the equation. You're going to hit this y equals button on top of this blue second right here, and you should see this screen. All right. I'm going to do just one example, or I'll probably do two with you guys just to show you. But let me see. I know I did a couple with you guys in class. All right, but let me just pull one up really quick. All right. So there's a video linked on at least my Canvas homepage with Mrs. Meadows' video that has like the steps with the graphing calculator. I'm going to do those exact problems, right? So if you need to refer to those, then feel free to have a look. But I'm going to type in a graph, a function, right? So I'm going to do 3x to get the exponent. It's going to be this little caret. To get the x, it's next to this green alpha button and it's going to say x t theta n, right? And then we need an exponent, so I'm going to raise it to the power of 3. To get out of the exponent, I'm going to toggle with this right arrow right here, and now I'm out of the exponent, right? And I'm going to hit a minus 8x squared. I can either do it the same way that I did the third power, or there's a square button right here in this corner, right? And then it doesn't even take you in the exponent, it just puts the square and takes you right out. All right, and then minus 23x plus 18. All right, so hopefully we should be able to type that out. To see the graph, I would hit this graph button at the very top, right? So at the top, you're going to see 5 gray buttons. You're going to hit the fifth one that says graph. And then you should see this, right? It generates a graph for you guys. We actually want to get some information out of this graph. So to find the zeros, right? That's what we're going to have you guys do, right? That's the point of doing this. I'm going to hit second trace, right? So you should see a gray button that says trace. And on top of it, yours might not be on the button. Yours is probably going to be on the calculator, but you should see blue writing that says calc. So second trace, and then you should see this window. If you're looking for the zeros, you're going to either scroll to where it says 0 and then hit enter, or press the number that's next to it, right? So 2. So I hit the number 2 and you should see a left bound with a question mark, right? I'm going to go from left to right. We have to check one by one. So I'm going to hit the left arrow and you're not going to see it on the screen, but eventually you will, right? You should see this little blinking star. And I'm going to scroll. Notice that I want to make sure that this little blinking star is to the left of one of our zeros, right? So if you look really closely, let me see if I could zoom in for you guys. You should see that this x-intercept or the 0 is approximately at x equals -2. right? It doesn't look like it's exactly on it, so I'm going to go to the left, right? And then we should see, and if you ever lose your star, you can figure where it is based on at the bottom you see an ordered pair, or not an ordered pair, but you see x equals y equals. That tells you where in this graph the little blinking star is, right? So I just want to make sure I'm to the left of it, right? And now I'm to the left of my x-intercept, so about negative 2.575757, right? And then you're going to click enter, right? So let me zoom back out. And then I'm going to click enter. And it should say right bound, right? You should see this dotted blue line pop up, and you want to make sure it's to the left of your x-intercept. And then I'm going to scroll to the right. We should see the blinking star at some point. And then you want to make sure the blinking star is to the right of your x-intercept. So I'm going to scroll, and it's off the screen right now. But again, looking at our ordered pair, or not our ordered pair, the x equals at the bottom, it says x equals negative 81811818, right? And that looks like it is to the right of that x-intercept. So I'm going to click enter again. And then you should see another blue dotted line. If your dotted lines do not have the x-intercept in between, then you need to try it again because it's not going to give you an answer, right? It's going to say guess now, and then you should press enter. And then you'll have a little blinking dot at the 0, right? Notice negative 2.162278 does not get you any clean fraction equivalent, right? If you see a crazy decimal like this, that's an indication that you're gonna have a radical in your answer. So meaning I cannot use this in my synthetic division. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do second trace, and I'm going to repeat the process for the next 0, right? We should see this little blinking star again. I'm going to go to the right until I see that the blinking star is to the left of this x-intercept right here. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but it looks like it's about at +1, a little bit less than +1. So let's make sure that blinking star, the x coordinate is to the left of it. And then I'm going to hit enter. You should see the dotted line, and then let's go to the right and make sure that the blinking star is to the right of that x-intercept, and then press enter. It says guess. And then you see 0.666, and it's just a whole bunch of sixes, right? If there's a 7 at the end of it, it's because your calculator is rounding it. But you guys should recognize that that has a clear repeating pattern. Hopefully, I would hope that most of us can see that this is equal to 2/3. If you don't know that it's equal to 2/3, right, click clear and then clear again until you're at this blank screen. And I'm going to type in the decimal, right? So I'm going to put 0.6, and then I'm just going to put a ridiculous amount of sixes, right? I'm just going to put as many as the screen can fit, just because you need enough so that your calculator knows that it's a clear pattern, right? And then once you feel like your screen has enough sixes, I'm going to hit the math button, and then this 1 has an arrow that says frac, right? And it means that you're converting it to a fraction. Press enter, and then you should see this on your screen. And then I'm going to press enter again, and then it says that it's 2/3. All right, so then what you would do from here is you would use your synthetic division to figure out the other two zeros, and you would get that you do indeed get two radical answers, right? I believe, if I remember correctly, the answer is 1 plus minus square root of 10. All right, if it's not, then you would just figure out what it actually is. But I think if I remember correctly, that's what the answer is. All right, so that's how you do one problem, right? Let me show you another one. So let me clear this. Again, let's repeat the process. So y equals, and then you should see this screen. Whatever you had here originally, you can clear it by pressing the clear button. And then I think the second problem in that video was 3x to the third. So I'm going to hit a 3, the x button, the little caret with a 3 to get out of the exponent, toggle to the right, plus 13x, and then I would hit the square button, plus 26x minus 24, right? So we should be able to do that, all right? And then I'm going to hit the graph button, and then you should see that it graphs your polynomial function. To get your x-intercept, or your zeros, you would hit second trace, and then you should see this screen. Click the 2 button, and then you should see left bound. If you want to be able to see the star, right, just go toggle to the right or left until you can see it. If you ever lose it, just look at the x equals at the bottom where right underneath where it says left bound, it'll tell you where it is, right? So if you see that it was at like -2, right? You see that -2 is over here. That's nowhere near where we want it, right? So let's kind of bring it a little bit closer. Doesn't really matter where it is as long as it's to the left of our x-intercept. And then, right, like that's a perfectly fine spot for it to be. So then I'm going to hit enter. You should see that dotted line. Again, that dotted line should be to the left of your x-intercept where it crosses the x-axis. Now let's go to the right. Now I'm going to go to the right, right? It says x equals 1.060606, right? That's perfectly fine because that is to the right of our x-intercept. So I'm going to press enter again. I should see another dotted line, and then it's going to say guess, press enter. And then we get the exact same number as we did in the previous problem, right? So 0.6 repeating. And then you guys should know that that is 2/3, and then you would do your synthetic division with that. One thing I forgot to mention with the other example is how to find additional points. Again, on the test, we're probably going to ask you guys pick like 2 to 3 additional points. All you would have to do is press second graph. So second, the very last button at the top, and then you'll see a table of values. And then you would just write in an ordered pair where it says pick 3 additional points between your x-intercepts, and then you would scroll through. If you need negative numbers, just click this up arrow, and then you'll be able to scroll through and pick some extra points, right? Be wise with your choices though, right? We're probably going to be specific. We'll probably tell you guys pick 2 to 3 additional points between your x-intercepts. But if you see in this case, we only have one of them, right? There's only one. But you don't want to venture out too far. I don't want to pick like 5, right? Because you can see it's moving, it's increasing very, very rapidly. So if I go 5, right, I do a second table. At 5, I'm already at 806, right? So pick closer ones to the center of the action, right, where everything's happening, right? So I have at 1, the y value is 18. At 2, the y value is 104. So still, it's increasing really rapidly. But that's just another point for us to list, right? At -1, it's -40. At -2, -48. Again, probably way off your graph, but still, that's a little bit closer to where, things are happening, right? So that's how you get your extra ordered pairs. You can clear just to get out of this. Oh, it's not working. Okay, well, second mode is going to take you to quit. Right, so you see these little quit buttons, right? So pay attention to the letters on top of the buttons, right? They'll kind of tell you what's happening, right? So second mode, you see a little quit at the top. So if you're ever unsure, right, just explore with it, right? Experiment with your calculator. Another thing to note, zoom, right? So if I graph it and I want to zoom out, maybe I want a better picture, I would click zoom, and then you see that zoom out is at 3. I would click the 3 button, and then you see this little blinking dot as we always do. And then I can drag it to like kind of the center of where I want it to be, right? If you hold it, it'll move faster, right? But let's say I want to center it kind of closer towards the origin. I'm going to keep clicking it until it's close to the origin. And then once it's there, I'm going to hit enter. And then you see that it zooms out. If I want to zoom in, click the zoom button. And then I'm going to click the 2 button where it says zoom in. And then the blinking dot's right there. So then I just want to hit enter. And then I'm back to where I was before. Maybe if I want to zoom in a little bit closer, I'm going to hit the 2 button again, right? Maybe I want to know exactly where this point is on the x-axis. So I want to zoom in right there. And then I hit enter. And then you see now that you get kind of a closer, more detailed view of your x-intercept, right? But that's pretty much it. That's all the important stuff that you'll need. Again, if you want to clear everything, second plus 712. And then now your calculator's cleared. It's ready to go. Hope this was helpful. Right.